Welcome to Collecting Chaos. It's time for Tuesday's Treasures. Now don't mind this shadow off to the side here. I've been cleaning up my desk and I have a big pile there, so that's why there's a shadow. I need to put a light on the other side and I haven't gotten around to it yet. So, yeah, more Marvel comics today. Some of them surprised me when I started going through and taking them out of the bag. So, yeah, let's get started. The year was 1997, and Marvel Comics decided to try something a little different. Well, to me, it seemed like it was a little different. They took a band of villains, and the villains disguised themselves and pretended to be heroes. Now, I don't have the first 3 issues anymore, because like a dope, I sold them, and now I kind of wish I had hung on to them. But we're talking about Thunderbolts. And it was a surprisingly good comic, in my opinion, and probably an underrated comic. I'm probably going to go back and collect them. Yeah. Some of Bagley did a really good job on it. Kurt Busiek was the writer, and of course Busiek is an incredible writer. So, yeah. Good stuff. I liked it then. I still like it now. So that's number 4. Here's number 5. And I think I'm going to hang on to these. I don't think I'm going to be selling these. I think I'm going to put it on my list of things I want to collect in the near future. It's number 7. Number 8. Number 9. Or no, excuse me, that's number 11. What am I doing? I'm not paying attention. Number 12. $13. 14. 15. 16. Now, the part I liked best about Thunderbolts was in the early issues, the villains that were pretending to be heroes were that they kind of liked doing good stuff. But of course, they were led by Zemo, so that didn't work out too good. Number 17. Spoilers, by the way, if you haven't read them. It came out 24 years ago. If you don't know anything about them by now, I'm sorry. Too bad. Number 18. Number 19. And this actually features a new, this is a key issue because it features a new villain, but it isn't just a new villain, it's a villain created by a fan that won a contest. So that's kind of neat. Number 20. It's not the first time fans had input into comics, though. Back in the 70s, DC Comics solicited through the Adventure Comics for fans to design Supergirl's costume because they wanted to change her costume. And that's where a lot of those costumes from the 70s came from, that they were fan created. Number 23. Number 27. Well, Well, Archangel joined the Thunderbolts. Nah, he's only a guest star, but doesn't he look cool on the cover? Yes. Yes, he did. Here's the annual, the 1997 annual. Revealed the origin of the Thunderbolts. Now here's a comic I keep thinking I want to get rid of. Time Spirits. I've never collected Time Spirits. This is issue number 3. And every time I decide, yeah, I'm going to get rid of it, I see something different in this cover by Yeats. And think, nah, I'm not going to get rid of it. I've consigned myself to the fact that I'm probably never, ever going to get rid of this comic because I just like the cover too much. Then we have Two Gun Kid, The Sunset Riders number 2. I don't know why I don't have book number 1. Might be something I want to get someday. Typhoid number 1. And this, it was Mature Readers, Marvel Edge. Nice thick cover, book 1, Snow White. It's a cardstock cover, by the way. And number 2, also a cardstock cover. These came out in 1995. So, yeah, that's all the comics I have to show you, but I do have something I want to talk about. So every week on Tuesday's Treasures, I'm trying to show something I'm going to offer up on Friday. And I just went through all the comics, and there was nothing I want to sell. So I looked over and I saw this, and I thought, well, yeah, this is something I'm interested in selling. I'd get a little better focus on it there. This is one of the Star Wars figures cases from 1990, I think. Oh, 1980. Unfortunately, the handles are broken off, but the snap works really well, and it does have the 2 trays, and it even has some of the names of things that would go in there. So, yeah, I may offer this up for sale on Friday, and that'll be on Horizon Picks Auction. And if he sends me the information in time, I'll go ahead and put it in at the end of the video. So there you go. On to the next thing. And what I want to talk about, it's convenient that I have that stack of football cards still here, because what I want to talk about is cards. And we'll zoom in. The card that I'm holding is not important. It's what I'm going to talk about that's important. And I don't consider myself an expert on card grading. I just want to give you that straight up. But I do know a little bit about it, probably enough to get me in trouble from all the card geeks in the world and all the collectors in the world who say, he doesn't know what he's talking about. The first thing, when you're considering buying a card, especially if it's an expensive card. Now, this is not an expensive card by any means. This is, you know, if it's worth 15 cents, I'd be surprised. But the first thing you look at is the corners. You want to make sure the corners are sharp. You don't want to see any dents or dings or anything like that. And that's where a pad like this comes in handy, because you can lay it in there and you can see just how sharp those corners are. So that's the first thing you want to look at. The next thing you want to look at, even before you look at the centering, which is of course important, you want to kind of tilt it, and you can't really see what I'm doing, but I'm tilting it. And if you have a flashlight, it works better. What you want to do is you want to shine the light obliquely, and it'll pick out any faults in the card. Now, I don't see any scratches or anything on this card, and that's what I was looking for, is scratches. So there is there's a little damage. Get out there's a little bit of damage, like a little ding right here. It looks almost like a little bubble. So that would detract from the value of the card. You can't see it, but I definitely can. I can't see it when I look head on, but when I hold it obliquely, I can definitely see it. And it looks like there's a little dent here as well. Turn the back over, do the same thing. You're looking for creases, dents, dings, anything and that you will see obliquely. Like I said, get a flashlight, shine a light on it, and that's a good way to, you know, shine a light from an angle so that it'll reflect up and you'll be able to see all those dings and dips. This one is not too bad. Next thing I look at when I'm considering buying a card, if I'm collecting cards at the time, and I have collected them in the past, I don't currently. I have hundreds of thousands of cards. I might even have 1 million. I don't know. I have so many cards. I'm not even going to try to count them. You look at the centering. Now, I've met a lot of people that say, well, I can't check the centering. I don't have a centering tool. Well, I have a centering tool, but I don't need it. And why don't I need it? Well, look here. If you take this and you move it over a little bit, see how it goes to that about halfway to that next dot? When you move it over like that, it should, well, here, let's take it like this. Take the card like that, and then all you got to do, well, I mean, obviously you can't do this when you're in a store or something like that. That's the halfway point. Now you want to do the same thing with, and try to line up these. And guess what? The halfway point is exactly one halfway. This is a really well-centered card. Let me get this old dinged up one that's... this one, as you can see, is very well off-center, and it's obvious. This is like a 90-10 centering. But you don't want to check the centering just left to right. You want to check the centering up and down, too. And on some cards, see if I can find one. When you've got a card like this, it's hard to check the centering. So what you have to do is you look at the back and you check the back centering and see how that looks. Some of these cards from this time frame, there's no real way to tell the centering on them. It's just, it doesn't work. There's, you know, like this one, the best way to check centering is the margin here about the same as the margin there? Is the margin here to here about the same as it is up there? That would tell you how well centered the back is. The front, there's no way to tell if it's a well centered card or not. It's just, that's all there is to it. And that's what I want to go over real quick, was just things to look at if you happen to be buying cards. And I know some people that collect comics are starting to get into the old comic cards again. And these are, you know, tips that you want to look for if you're buying a card in a store. Now, if you're buying a card online, it's a little more difficult. You kind of got to rely on the person. Ask them if you can get a high-resolution photograph, or a high-resolution scan would be even better, if they can get the card scanned. I have no problem with that at all. If somebody wants me to scan a card at 600 dpi, I'll do it, and I'll send it to them. You know, it's a huge file. I don't care. I'll save it as a PNG, or not as a PNG, because that's not good for photos. I'd save it probably as a JPEG or as a TIFF file, because TIFF files are lossless. And try to show them every little, you know, so that they can get up like they were looking at it through a microscope or something. So that's my tip for the day. I show you a couple of worthless cards that are good examples of what to look for. Obviously, if you have a card that looks like this, and it's the only one you need for your collection, go for it. Otherwise, you might want to take a pass. It's got rounded corners. It's got a bubble here. It's not well centered at all. It's very poorly centered, both up and down and left to right. And so there's a dent here, ding here, another dent. And like I said, it looks like a bubble, like the cardboard is starting to separate right there. So that's and there's a crease right here in the corner. Aside from having rounded corners, it also has a crease on here and a crease up here. So though that's obviously a card you might want to give a pass on. So hope you enjoyed it. Hope I helped you out a little bit. Hope I made you learn something by accident. In the meantime, make sure before you handle your comics or your cards, you wash your hands. It's good for your comics. Good for your collectibles. Most of all, it's good for your health. And we will see you tomorrow for the Eternal My Light Project. In the meantime, have a wonderful day. Bye.